at that time, this would have been in the earlier 2000s. We're talking like 2005, 6, 7, 8. At that time, at least the chapter of the IWW that was organizing out in front of the Starbucks was very prominently displaying what you would probably call like ML
Mountains.
Insignias, the red rose. There was hammer and sickle stuff. Some of the people were wearing Che Guevara stuff, right?
Okay.
And I went and talked to them as a labor advocate, and I said, you guys really have to like stop with the hammer and sickle shit. Like this is just pushing people away, because I think that labor is a space where the left and the right can communicate. To give you props on something else, like you catch a lot of fucking heat for being willing to talk to anybody. And the fact that you'll bring in like a Nick Fuentes or a Sneeko or whatever the fuck, right? And actually talk to them and try and like unpack their shit. I advocate for that. That's Daryl Davis left. You know who Daryl Davis is? The black guy that, you know.
I've spoken to him before. And it's my fans always try to use that guy as a comparison because, you know. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
16G.
I'm sorry. I didn't know it was a bad meme in your community.
No, it's not a bad meme. It's a good meme. It's just
okay.
Because every time I talk to somebody like that, you know, usually a far left person will be like, oh, he's a Nazi, and they'll be like, what about Daryl Davis? Blah blah blah, and they'll be like, oh, Destiny's not black. That doesn't count. It's like, okay, whatever. It's just funny you bring him up.
Okay. Well, I
also as a real quick thing, the only reason I said the Marxist or tanky thing is because I know that like if you go into those spaces, if those people are not woke, in fact they hate like Paul as much as like conservatives do. They focus more on like the class stuff. So if you start bringing up like racial stuff with them, they'll just call you a loser and they move on. That's I was just clarifying. I don't know. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I don't like the categorization shit. I'm not gonna deny it. I mean, you might at the end of this, and your fans might be like, "Oh, he's an ML, he's a tanky, whatever." I don't really give a fuck, bro. Like, I call myself a labor leftist or a Daryl Davis leftist because I believe that contact theory works, and I believe the labor space is the best place for that to happen. I don't think we're going to convert Trumpists to being not fucking fascist by yelling fucking slurs at them all day and calling them retards and all of this other stuff, right? Sorry if the R slur is not kosher here. I don't know.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, cool. I'm from the 80s and 90s, so I can't really help it. It just is what it is. But yeah, no. So I think that's why I said I wanted to try and build a bridge rather than argue with you about this shit. Because I feel like you're one of the people nominally on the left. I'm going to call you on the left, even though I don't think you. I mean, would you say you're on the political left?
Yeah, I think very squarely, but depending on the online space I'm in, they don't feel that way. But I mean, I guess depends on what space you're in.
He just keeps yapping. I'm sorry, chat. I'll let Destiny ask some questions or whatever.
No, don't worry about it. Keep going.
Well, the chat's being very mean, dude. I read my chat.
That's chat. Chat's always mean. Don't worry about them.
Yeah, you're right. They're very fucking mean. But anyway, so yeah, the Biden cognitive shit. Like at this point, you have to admit, right, whether they're right or wrong, there's a lot of people who would probably be galvanized if Biden were to prove with a cognitive test that, like, hey, this dude's fine.
This is the one thing where I kind of disagree. This is why I'd be opposed to it. I don't think the cognitive test ever helps him. I think it can only hurt him. That's
Dang.
So you think, but then like think about that, right?
Sounds like a skill issue.
Who's gonna be like our chief diplomat?
My plane was
That's the president of the United States. It's a constitutionally enumerated power of the presidency, right? The chief diplomat of the United States. This is the dude that's supposed to be sitting in the room with Putin, Kim Jong-un, whoever, right? Xi Jinping. If that dude can't pass a cognitive test, and you've said that he's visibly and noticeably declined in the last 4 years, where do you think that train's going in the next 4?
I imagine probably worse than now, right?
Horrible, right?
Yeah.
But I understand where you're gonna say, but Trump, right? That's the kind of the fallback is
basically,
even if it's horrible, it's better than Trump.
Yeah.
But that fallback, being true as it is, doesn't look like it's going to win the election.
Maybe, yeah. Depends. I mean, but
I know it depends. I'm not trying to call it or whatever.
Yeah.
But and I'm also I lived through 2016 just like everybody else, so I know the polls can be fucking big cope. But if you look at it in a broad sense, shit does not look good for Biden right now.
Okay.
And coping about, well, Trump would be worse is one thing, but I think that argument is over. What are your prescriptions for Biden going forward to turn this around?
Okay, so there's a lot of different issues that are unrelated, I would say, or not unrelated, but they're different questions. Like when we ask the question of like, what does it look like for the next 4 years for Biden? I mean, my hope would be that, assuming he wins the election, if he wants to step down or whatever, that's a whole separate conversation. I don't care about that.
Wait, what?
In terms of like to win the election now, I mean, there are things that I would say. One would be if the people next to him, if there is like, so one kind of like news narrative that's floating out there is that Biden is always like this, and that everybody really close to him knows that they're trying to hide it or something, right? If that was the case, then I would say, okay, well, that probably shouldn't happen anymore. And if it truly is, like if you could say with honoring certainty that there's like a 99% chance that the next few performances are all going to look like the last one, then I'd say, maybe we pull the plug and we roll the dice on something else. There are things that I would change, being a professional debater, things that I would change in terms of his strategy. I think you can build around where he's at mentally for how he should be doing conversations. Like the cognitive capacity that Trump needs to carry his campaign is so much lower than what Biden is trying. I don't know why Biden doesn't try to emulate some of that. Like when Biden is on stage, he should just be pointing out the fact that, Trump is basically divorced. His wife has left him. He lied about fucking a porn star. He stole campaign money to do it. He's a convicted felon. Like the most memorable line that I remember from Biden wasn't him trying to rattle off 50 million numbers. It was when I think he said to Trump that he had alley cat morals or something. I thought that was a funny line.
It was a good Joe Biden meme line, but it was just so soggy given his performance. Right?
Yeah, given everything else. But like if his whole performance was like built around stuff like that, I think that he just should focus on like the slogans and the witty stuff and like that kind of stuff rather than anything else. And I think it'd be easier for him to carry. It's easier to hit lines like that in conversations. Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
I'm not a,
some of their fucking planes turning around
I don't
quick,
want to get
bro.
into the whole debate thing. I don't think a lot of what people do online and call debate is debate.
Yeah,
I'm
probably.
like one of those like literalists where I was in a debate club in high school and shit. So I follow like what's good about debate. But I think a debate needs like a
They
moderator.
like turn on a
or
dime
a
and shoot you in the
positions
back
and limits,
as you're
et
trying to
cetera, right?
fucking turn.
Well,
but
careful on that position.
They probably
I've
have
heard a lot
better
of people say
engines.
similar stuff that debates don't matter and all this and blah 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 blah.
No,
and
that's not what I'm saying.
Because I was gonna say all those same people now who told me that for so long, this is why they don't want to talk about it. Now they're like the debate was actually the most important thing ever, and this is why Biden usually is like, okay, interesting.
I'm actually on the other end of that. So I watch every presidential, vice presidential debate that I can get my hands on. I watch my local state debates here in California and stuff when they televise them or record them, right? I'm fascinated with debate.
Sure.
I fucking love it. I think you do too, right?
Yeah, I think it's got its pros and cons, yeah.
But I think people understate how important it is what I'm saying. Like the optics of it, right? So a lot
The only
of people
thing I'm not
recall
sure about that is that like I feel like people have looked at this in the past for polling stuff, and debate performances just don't seem to help candidates that much, even in primaries. Yeah, but
Yeah, well, I mean, there was the devastating, like, what was it, 1968 Nixon performance where he just looked old and Kennedy looked young and fresh, like he was off the face of a magazine and shit. And that's considered to be an all-time horrible debate performance. It's said to have lost Nixon the presidency, right, by certain like scholars and historians that look at that time, seeing Nixon standing there with a 5 o'clock shadow and kind of sweat on his upper lip, and then moving to Kennedy, who kind of embodied the 60s ideal of like a playboy jet set kind of guy, just like ruined. And if you actually watch that debate, Nixon won that debate on debate points. He won, like in terms of substance, Nixon won that debate.
sure.
But in
Although
terms
I
of
don't,
he lost.
yeah. Admittedly, I don't have the history, but I've heard people talk about this, so I don't have the firsthand experience. But
You should watch it. You should watch it on stream for the memes one day and see
Sure.
what a historically bad debate looks like versus the Biden debate.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's unreal how articulate both of these people are.
Sure, I've heard some people say that when they bring this up, that it wasn't just that like debates all of a sudden became important, or this is an important debate performance. It was that traditionally you just didn't have as much access to these people like on TV and these forums, and then seeing them on TV and then and debate just happened to be the thing that exposed it. But now when we see so much of candidates on TV, we see them on social media, we see them everywhere else. We're like inundated with videos of them. That like a debate performance just doesn't move us as much because it's not like our, you know, there's gonna be like an earth-shattering revelation for the first time you see a candidate or something. Maybe not to say that it's impossible that a certain debate performance couldn't totally sink you. It's possible, I'm sure. Like everything's unprecedented, you know.
There's a monologue in the theater show that was made into a pretty good movie, Frost Nixon, where the guy talks about the reductive power of the close-up and how the nation could see Nixon hollow out when Frost sprung his trap on him and got him to say the president isn't illegal.
Oh, you can't drop bombs.
Which
That's
was
the last
like
thing.
the worst optical thing that Nixon could have said at that time. He's trying to convince people that there was some path through his weird money transfers and leaving fucking briefcases on top of phone booths and shit, right? And to say when the president does it, it's not illegal. It's a bribe is not a bribe. You know, that was horrible.
Sure.
And that close up that they show of Nixon there, the hollowness in his face and all that. There's a big monologue about it there. That's what happened at the Biden debate. There were people that were on the fence about Biden that were really following, I think, your prescription, which is, look, he ain't perfect, but he's done a lot of good stuff, or at least tried to, and he ain't Trump, right? There was a lot of people, I think, standing on that saw that debate, and they're not saying, I won't vote for him. They're saying he gonna lose.
Okay.
And I'm one of those people, right? I won't vote for him. I wasn't gonna vote for him prior to the debate because I knew and had been sounding the alarm on his cognitive decline since 2020.
Okay.
Not trying to make not trying to make diagnoses of him, just pointing out times when the man shakes hands with the air, walks away, freezes up, has to have somebody come get him and tap him on the shoulder and lead him off stage, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
And there are numerous of the, like in the last interview he did with Stephanopoulos, there are two moments like I talked about where he bails. I don't know if you watched the whole 20-minute meme, but he bails on two questions where he goes, listen, I was, well, anyway. And it just like there's this uncomfortable 2-second silence where Stephanopoulos is like, was that, okay. You know what I mean? Like that type of shit happening at post-debate is just piling on these people that I'm talking about that you might have had convinced based on the barest thread of like, hey, don't vote for Biden, vote against Trump. And now they're looking at this
okay.
going,
Let's just real quick. Oh yeah, let's fast forward. Yeah, because I've had this conversation like 5 times in the past. Fast forward, like what is the point of the, like, if there was a candidate that I was very confident, like has a low volatility outperforming Biden, like I would say we switch to that candidate immediately. I'm not like principally attached to Biden as a candidate. The only issue is,
can I run some names by you then? I'm sorry if you've already had this conversation.
Sure, no, that's fine. I mean, like, you can run names, but the issue is that, like, I feel like people always downplay the volatility. They pretend that if they just insert a person because of, like, one poll, like, oh, well, this person would clearly win. And it's like, I mean, do we know that if they haven't even begun campaigning yet?
Well,
like,
don't you think getting that person in there and then letting them hit the stage with Trump in August would be a good way of, like, assuring people that we've got an adult in the room again?
No, I don't think that matters. No. If you watched Hillary versus Trump, there is no intelligent person that came away thinking like, wow, Trump really schooled Hillary Clinton in that debate. Like, Trump doesn't know.
You can't tell me as a fucking fan of debate and as a person who respects debate, you cannot tell me that having all of Bill Clinton's accusers in the audience wasn't a fucking move, bro.
I mean, like, as somebody, I like, if I appreciated debate in the way that people say that I do on Twitter, maybe.
Oh my God!
I do like it because it forces two sides with opposing.
I know who the fuck is who.
They're talking
Go.
And make them
you
know, understandable and intelligible to the other person to have a back and forth on it. No, I don't like appreciate like meme shit like that. It's effective in terms of rhetoric and terms of like, getting people like you. But I mean, like, I'm just saying like in terms of like, oh well, if you like a debate, like I
mean, when you watched that live, were you going like, fuck, that's a dirty, shitty, like reach down on the ground and grab a handful of sand and throw it in your opponent's eyes move, but it's going to be effective?
Yeah, I mean, it can be. Yeah, it could be effective. Sure.
Right. So anyway, I'm not like when I was going to name names, these are, I want to make sure that your chat and everybody watching knows I'm not endorsing any of these people. I don't think there's anybody at this late date that could really replace Biden effectively either. I'll be honest with you. I think we're kind of fucked. And I think we need to start thinking about how fucked we are and what we're going to do to battle a Trump presidency going forward, because I think that's what we're going to look at.
Sure.
But
Also, I think, and I will say over and over again, as much as people blame the DNC and the media, blah, 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 this is who the electorate delivered us. Like, I think Biden, I'm pretty sure Biden said before he won the primaries in 2020, I'm pretty sure Biden said that he wasn't going to run for a second term. I think he was saying that, and he still ended up winning the primaries. So it's like I mean, this is kind of who we got. So
why did he run if he wasn't going to run for a second term? Why did he run? Why was he even primaried if he wasn't going to?
Yeah, I don't know. I remember saying, you can probably find videos of me at the time, but I'm like, that's like you would never give up your incumbent advantage. Like that was the one silver lining in the huge like stormy cloud of democracy ending Trump presidency is that at least if Trump does win this next election, the one after, there's no incumbent advantage. But yeah, like I'm pretty sure Biden was like flirting with the idea. Like the fact that he was just saying that, I was like, that's a little bit strange. But yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just going to throw some fucking names out there that I've heard other people memeing about. Like I said, no endorsement from me of any of these people. All right? Gavin Newsom.
Okay. What do you want my take on them?
Yeah, well, like, how do you feel that they would be worse than Biden at this point?
This is my. You know anything about like investments? Like if you like you've
this
got.
is not my no.
Sure.
I'm just gonna say no.
Okay, I'll just say a couple general things. You're a smart guy. You understand this, okay? That when you make an investment, okay, you have like your default like rate of return, like what you expect to get back on it. But if you're digging a bit more, you might look at something called like a risk-adjusted rate of return, right? So if you look at something and it says like, oh, well, here's an investment that could net you 7%, you would expect that like, okay, this is probably a pretty safe investment, right? And then if you look at something that nets you, 20%, but there's like a 50% chance of it like fucking completely and totally failing. I was like,
Right.
Okay, well, your risk-adjusted rate of return.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
My ex-wife was a CPA, so I get the
Sure.
memes.
Yeah.
I just said I don't understand them because I personally don't practice them.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that like there is a chance that like there are many worlds where you throw Newsom up there and it's such a bizarre like hype moment that a new guy has come in. He's younger than everybody. He doesn't have the same baggage as these two candidates, and like everybody's talking about it. And you know, like he goes on to do a debate, and we've seen him on stage. He could absolutely fucking demolish Donald Trump, and he could bring like that younger man's energy. Like I say, young man. I'm pretty sure he's probably is he in his 50s?
I think he's 51 or something like that when I look.
It's funny that makes you a child for politics these days.
Yeah,
But
it does.
yeah,
Which is
that
a sad thing.
all of that could happen, and voters are like so galvanized and energized, like holy shit, like this is like this is fucking awesome. Like oh my god, let's do it, blah blah. Like that is a world that
That is my airplane.
right maybe. I think there's another world where
It's,
somebody like him gets thrown in. And the talking points for the next 3 months are,
old.
oh God,
That's
what if
a bomb-
homelessness
bomber
around the
plane,
entire
that's-
U.S. looks like L.A.? What if he wants to turn the whole United States into San Francisco? Didn't California
can't.
just have like huge budget concerns? Wow, this is the guy who's going to talk about taxes. California is the
his
most
tanks,
taxed
too.
state in the entire country. Is that what he's going to do to
Tanks.
us? Oh, like
Right.
I could see like these, and then who knows what's
naval
lurking in the
ships.
closet? You know, I brought
No,
up these politicians
I'm
over there,
not.
people like Cuomo who are like America's darling, and it's like
Yeah.
in two like sexual harassment scandals, his entire legacy is destroyed. Giuliani was America's mayor before he started standing in for Trump's lawyer and destroyed his whole reputation. DeSantis was on track to fucking lose Florida after having a good legislative record and like a high government position, and he was like favored coming into the primary. So all this to say that like when somebody's like, don't you think you could throw somebody in and this would be so good for the primary? It could be, but it could also be really bad. The volatility is just so high and so unprecedented that I feel like I would need to see like Biden slip. Like if he's gone like 5, 6, 7 points, and it's like there's no shot that we make this up. It's over. And it's like, okay, fuck it, let's throw somebody in and roll the dice. Yeah.
When is the convention again? The Democratic. When are we doing the
Isn't it in-
convention?
Is it September, August?
I think it's
DNC.
August. Is it August? I want to say it's August, but I don't want to be wrong.
It is August 19th.
Okay. August 19th. Is the scheduled debate prior to that or after it? I'm sorry to make you Google shit. I could probably I'm just trying to keep the conversation going. I thought you knew
No, you're good.
off the top of your head, maybe. Because I don't.
I think the next one is September 10th. So
Okay.
it's after, yeah.
Yeah, you explaining it that way to me makes me understand your position better, and I wish that other people that were trying to make your argument were making it in those terms.
Sure.
The risk adverse thing. You're saying, is there a path to a Gretchen Whitmer or a fucking Gavin Newsom
Or
or
even
whatever,
Kamala
right?
Harris, or even whatever the
Cam-
fuck. Maybe. Yeah. As
I mean,
much
she
as
did-
but
she primaried exactly nowhere. Nobody likes Kamala
Sure.
Harris, but yeah.
Although
is
the
there
really
a path?
uncomfortable fact too is that if you want to pick another candidate, then the next part of the conversation would be it would probably have to be Kamala Harris for a variety of reasons, or if you wanted to say no to her, there's a whole bunch of friction that you've got to go with there as well.
I mean, maybe we need a Huey. What was that? Huey Long, or what was his name? The Open Convention in fucking 1965 or something, or 64. Like there was an open Democratic convention where the nominees dissolved their votes from the primary and went to a fucking showdown at the convention, like a contested primary convention or whatever the fuck.
Sure.
And maybe that's what we need. Or do you have trust in that process of that democratic? Well, it's not even really a democratic process. It's a DNC corporate process that oversees. But do you have faith in that?
I mean, we would get a candidate. I think we would get a candidate who I think on paper, in terms of like presentation and everything, would almost certainly be superior to Biden. I would imagine that. But it's just like I said, it's just all the volatility is just really scary. Like I think Biden has to drop to a point to where it's like, okay, fuck it. Even if it's highly volatile, like I'd rather roll my dice here because Biden looks like he's probably not going to be it. But yeah. I mean, I understand. Like I said, yeah. If it was, well, I don't even know when you could do it. We kind of fucked ourselves. I mean,
Yeah,
it's kind of fucked.
Dude, that's kind of been what I've been saying for the last 4 years, is that this like vote blue, riding with Biden attitude, anybody but Trump attitude has fucked us.
Well, it's not really the anybody but Trump attitude. I think there's two other larger things that play in the background. One is I wasn't as politically observant, so I can't give like the detailed breakdowns of really good, but I've heard it said a lot that the Obama administration did a really bad job at fostering talent. That there weren't very many up-and-comers in terms of people that they supported. That just didn't happen. So
you can pick my brain on the Obama presidency, because I was actually more politically engaged then than I am now. It was the Obama presidency that broke me.
Okay.
From being I canvassed for John Kerry, I canvassed for Al Gore. I was 20 years old when Al Gore was lost the election, right? I mean, he technically won it, but
yeah,
the Supreme Court granted it.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that like I think so there's two things. Yeah, so one is that the Obama administration, just the Democratic Party back then, wasn't doing much to foster newer talent, and then two, running parallel to that is I think that we have made a lot of amazing advancements in health and technology and in lifespans and life expectancies and all of this. And one unfortunate byproduct of that is, man, for like the past 15 years of my life, I've been hearing, once all the boomers are gone, these things are going to change.
They're never going to be gone, bro.
Yeah, they're not, man. We might have hit that. It might be the unlimited age. We've hit the point to where immortality is effectively medically possible. So you've got.
Oh, dude, I'm a firm believer, and I'm not even a fan of the show. It's going to be the Futurama fucking head in a jar universe.
Yeah, maybe.
Bro, where we're just dealing with boomer heads floating around on little fucking drones.
Like you look at Biden and you think that like, man, Biden is old, and it's like he is, but man, a lot of these leaders are old. Pelosi is 84 years old. Feinstein was literally wheeled around, in her death.
Christ!
I saw this meme on my Reddit, and it fucking blew my mind that Bill Clinton was elected 30 years ago, and he's younger than Biden.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, that's crazy. And have you heard Bill Clinton talk lately? Oof.
Yeah, Bill is not doing well, bro.
He's rough. Oh my God, that is true. Actually, I just looked that up. Bill Clinton is 77 years old. And when he was elected, he was 46 years old. Jesus, yeah, that's crazy. So I think those two things running right now are because you had a whole stage full of. I mean, I'm obviously I'm an institutional, mainstream Democratic opinion shill, but there was a whole stage of what I would consider like decent representatives of the Democratic Party, but for one reason or another, people didn't like one candidate or the next. and eventually we basically, I think we kind of like re-elected Obama. People just like missed that, and they were like, okay, Biden, yeah, he reminds me of that dude, and then I was like, okay, and that's basically what yeah.
Can I ask why we find ourselves at odds? Well, maybe we don't. I'm not putting words. I don't feel at odds with you, but my fan base, small as it is in comparison to yours, is at odds with yours. And I don't understand why, because I see over your head there another thing that you would probably think I have unbased takes on, but I don't. Like I was raised out in the country. I know how to shoot guns. I'm not an anti-gun leftist. See, I feel like my voice isn't out there in a way that people don't associate me with people who I don't like. I'm not an ML. I'm not a tanky. I'm not a fucking wokey or whatever the fuck, right? I just am an anti-DNC leftist that thinks that the Overton window shift to the right.
Venom synthesis, yay!
A Democrat now, I would have
Finally
called
got
a
it.
moderate Republican in the 80s, right?
Sure, I can understand you saying that. I mean, like, well, right now we're just talking about things we agree on, and we haven't talked about anything we disagree on. But the disagreements we
Sure.
have are probably very, 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 very deep. So, I mean, that
You're
would be-
probably right. Do you want to move on to something I think might
Alright,
be more
come on.
contentious? The other
Alright,
issue
come on.
that I was taking with your recent
Come on,
politics, or do you
Bubba.
have more to say on this?
No, I think I've said all. Yeah, that I have to say on this. Yeah.
If you need to move on too, if this is not a good segment or whatever, we can do this some other time too.
No,
I
you're good.
understand you got a shit to do.
Only other thing I'm doing now is reading Supreme Court cases, which is killing my viewership. So yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. IP. Okay, let's talk Israel, Palestine. Let's so I you know Vegan Gains?
I'm aware of him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, I know him. Yeah,
So
we're friendly. Yeah.
Yeah, I interacted with Gigan Veins back. I called him Gigan Veins back in the DP days. He was on the show a few times.
Mhm.
We ended up, being opposed and kind of working together against some of the people
What?
that we argued against back then.
Oh, you're here.
And
What's
he
going on,
recently
man?
reached out to me on one of my streams and said, "Hey, dude, you want to talk?"
I'm streaming, by the way. Just so you
Oh.
know.
Oh, okay.
So what are you up to?
Oh, that's much. Just hanging out, seeing what y'all are up to.
He's playing that airplane game. And I'm playing the First Descendant.
Yeah, I downloaded them both. Figure I'll see what this airplane stuff was about.
Yeah. I try to. I'm gonna try to play it again, but last night when I tried to play it, it was just like fucking boring.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't fucking do anything. What the fuck? Why is this? Oh, because it's gotta be equipped or something. Okay. It was just slow. We couldn't figure out how to like get in the games, and then you have to like buy a plane, and then you have to research it, and then you got to buy 3 more planes, and then you got to get to like tier 3 before you can even like team up and play the game mode or something. It's just turned into like a bunch of shit, and I was like, I don't want to do this shit anymore. And then when we finally got to playing, the planes were like super slow. It felt like we're just like trying to drive a plane through the water or something.
Yeah.
It just sucked. But Justin said he figured it all out, so I'm gonna give it another shot when I'm done with this.
Mm.
Whenever it gets back. I need to nimble fingers. Yeah.
Well, how's the Descendant going? You getting pretty good, pretty far in that? It's still pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
He's trash. He's trash.
You shut your fucking
Oh.
mouth.
What's going
Guess
on
I
there?
need to-
I'm like sitting here in the hangar looking at my planes.
Oh,
Ready for some fights? What's up?
nothing much. I'm trying to get it to load.
Oh, okay.
I got stuck on a screen.
Screen stuckage.
Mm-hmm.
Did you make a deal?
I just started the game.
So you don't have an account?
I don't guess. Oh, there we go. Aviation, Army, Blue Water Fleet, Coastal Fleet. Choose unit type.
What's your name? Is it your Xbox name?
Yeah.
Um,
USA.
USA, USA.
Monthly bonus. Here, I'll stream mine too.
Bleep, bleep. Mm. Down, 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 down. Egypt is inside. Mm-hmm.